Hello everyone, my name is Crystal and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, then hit that subscribe button because we're friends, we just haven't met yet. Hello everyone. Hello Lisa. Hello Music City Mom. Hello Flies and Coastlaw. Hello everybody. I am so sorry that I didn't get to go live at 4:30. Being my normal self, I didn't realize there wasn't 31 days in June. That's the only excuse there is for it. And then I had a reminder go off on my phone about some papers that I had to turn in. So life happened, you all, and it got away from me. But today we're going to be talking about the Dylan Rounds case. If you all have heard about this case, I want you to put me a 1 in chat. I come into this case a little bit late. And I'll be honest with you, at first I was thinking, well, maybe, because I didn't get the full information on him. I just caught little bits and pieces of things. And I thought, well, if he was a farmer, maybe he got hurt. But if you don't know anything about the Dylan Rounds case, Dylan Rounds is a 19-year-old male who, from what I can tell from everybody that was close to him, he always wanted to be a farmer, and he was making that dream come true. From what I understand, at the age of 16, he started actually working on this land. I could be wrong, but that's the way I've understood it so far. So he had a dream of having his own farm out there, growing his own crops, and he was making that dream come true. Now, also, everything that I've heard about this young man is he was a real hard worker. Not only did he work his own farm, but he also would work on neighboring farms. Now, on the Dylan Rounds missing on Facebook, the official Facebook page, they have the timeline, and I'm going to go over that because I want to try to stay as factual as I can and not really. I know there's a lot of speculations and stuff going on out there, and if you know me, I'm not about all that. I'd like to just kind of lean more towards what we know as facts right now. So just a second and I'll get that pulled up. I'm still new at this, you all, so bear with me. Okay. Now, just a second. I don't know why this is doing this. Give me just a second. I'm not wanting to share the whole folder. I'm just wanting to share this one little piece. Come on. Bear with me. I may just have to read it, but I wanted to show it. Here. Okay. Let me try this one more time. It looks like this. Oh, okay. Now, okay. Let me know if you can see it. Okay, it says on April 2022, a disagreement takes place between Dylan and Don, a family friend who helps out on the farm at times. Don was questioning Dylan's decision to work on a washing machine before a pump, and the result was Dylan and Don mutually decided to part company. Um, Now, from what I understand, Don had worked for Dylan's grandpa before he started working for Dylan. When Dylan took the farm over, he started working for Dylan, but they had a disagreement. But now, I know, like I said, I know there's a lot of speculation on YouTube, but to be honest with you, my opinion goes in a little bit different direction. Okay, it says on Wednesday, May the 25th, Dylan tells his mother about a strange encounter with some guy who was barefoot and bloody along the roadside who wanted a ride to Montello. Uh, this person was later identified as Chase Ventura. And I can't pronounce these names good because, well, we know how my speech is working right now. But now, Chase, what I don't understand about this part of it is Dylan is telling his mom about this guy that he sees barefoot and bloody alongside the road. But according to other resources that we've seen, he knew Chase. So that's questionable right there. Um, on Thursday, May the 26th, ECSO verified that Dylan was in Montello via bank account usage. Now, on Thursday, May the 26th, Dylan's last phone call with both mom and dad happened. On Friday, May the 27th, eyewitnesses, it says unconfirmed, sightings of Dylan in Montello. Then on Saturday, May the 28th, at 6:51 a.m., a phone call took place between Dylan and his grandmother. He told his grandmother he had to get his grain truck. He had to get his grain. Lord help me, can I talk today? Anyways, at 6:51 a.m., a phone call took place between Dylan and his grandma. He told his grandma he had to get his grain truck put away in the shop/shed at location 5 miles west of his farm. At location 5 miles west of his farm to keep it away from the rain. Way I understand this, if it got wet, it can mold or it would start sprouting. So it would ruin his crop that he had if he didn't get it in. So he was dedicated enough to know the rain was coming and want to put this grain truck in. And also, there's other photos out there where the family went through the grain truck. It has been searched, but it looks like he has backed it in. So I would think Dylan would do that, but if somebody else maybe put it up, they probably wouldn't. Okay. At 3:41, ECSO released the last cell phone data that came from Dylan's phone at or near his farm. Okay, at 10, see, this is weird too. Anyways, 3:41, then at 10 p.m. approximately, Chase Ventura was seen on camera 200 miles away from Lucian. Now, let me see, 3:41. We'll give it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's like 6 hours. It does not. It don't take 6 hours to drive 200 miles. Now, on Sunday, May the 29th, Dylan had not called his grandma back, so she called Dawn, a person who worked for Dylan on the farm, to check on him since he wasn't answering her phone calls. Dawn and Jim, which was, I guess, a work hand, it says farm helpers, but be like a work hand on the farm, go to Dylan's farm and look for him, but he is nowhere. Monday, May the 30th, Dawn and Jim have not been able to locate Dylan, so they let Grandma know. Grandma reaches out to JD, who is Dylan's best friend. And now, has anybody heard if JD has did an interview or talked on YouTube? Because I've looked for it, but it looks like he hasn't. But now, another thing here, I want to stop here just a second, because remember, Dawn is the one that some have said Dylan fired. This says they mutually parted ways. But I just find it strange that somebody he's had a disagreement with is one of the persons that goes out here and checks to see if he's there. That would give way too much time if that person is actually in on whatever happened to him. Now, and I'll talk about something else here in just a minute that kind of makes me think maybe he did have something to do with it. Okay. Grandma reaches out to JD, Dylan's best friend, to see if he had heard from him. At 11 a.m., he had not heard from Dylan, so JD reached out to Dylan's mother to see if she had heard from him. She called around to other family members, and no one had spoken with him. Dylan's parents drive to the farm to see if they can figure out where Dylan is. A missing persons report is filed by Candace, who is Dylan's mom. Justin is her dad, with BESO during the drive down. They arrived to find the seed truck had been put in the shed. Dylan's truck was at his trailer, and it had been pressure washed. The seat position had been moved very far towards. The way his mom had described this is she is a short person. Dylan's taller than her. When they were able to actually get in this truck, the seat was pulled up way too close for Dylan to have been driving that truck. 90 minutes into the missing persons report, a search of the area. So it didn't really take long for them to start searching. BESO SAR locates Dylan's boots tossed behind a pile of dirt 100 yards south of where the grain truck is located. Now, the grain truck if you can see my mouse on screen here, the grain truck was right in this building. And on back in this area is where the boots was found. Um, what if he was pulling in there and maybe somebody saw that as right here is where it says, okay, see, that's his grain truck in this bottom lower left picture. And his boots was way out here behind a dirt mound. But what if somebody saw him pulling his back in his truck in there and they seen it as an opportunity to maybe rob him? I mean, I kind of feel like whatever happened probably happened right here when he was putting that grain truck back away. Um, which, and his boots was found there. I mean, family received on Tuesday, May the 31st, family received a call from a citizen of Montello, his name was Kurt, who used to work for Dylan, stating Dylan was being held in a specific location by Chase. Now remember, Chase is the guy that Dylan claimed he didn't know when he called his mom, said he was a strange guy on the side of the road, he was bloody, and didn't have no shoes on. And now you've got somebody else calling Dylan's mom saying that he was being held in a location by Chase and another gentleman in Montello. Anyways, ECSO sent out 6 deputies, but he was not there, and they searched the entire property. So when this report got made, deputies did go out, they searched, and they found it to be a false report, or that's what it looks like. And this goes over, to be honest with you, the only thing that they have found of this young man is his boots. Now, I've heard some people say there was a gun missing, and just a second. Okay. I've heard some people say there was a gun missing. I've not found anything to actually verify that. But yesterday, there was a arrest warrant went out, and it says an arrest warrant has been issued on a firearms charge for an adult neighbor of a missing Utah teenager. The warrant against James Berner, 59, was filed on Wednesday and alleges that he possessed a firearm while being a felon. The warrant alleges that James was squatting in a trailer close to where Dylan Round's 19-year-old lived and worked. Now, when I was looking at that warrant, it said it gives initials in it. So it was like one initial was DH. So I can't help but wonder, did DH stand for Don, whatever his last name is? It's saying that James, whom I don't know about you all, but in my area, I know a lot of people, like, they'll be named James, their son will be named James, some of them will call one of the two Jim. Now, do I know that's going on in this situation? No, but it could be. So who's to say that James isn't Jim? But the warrant's for James, and in the warrant it says that DH took and reported to the police that James had asked him to hold, after his interview, to hold his firearms for him. And I think it was a 22 caliber, 22, something like that. He didn't report right off. And he said the reason he didn't report it was because the initial owner of the trailer that James was squatting in out there on that land, he said that that man owed him money and he was keeping it as collateral. Now, to me, none of that makes sense. You know a teenager is missing, but a guy that's just squatting on the land close to where he went missing at, and it says about 5 miles, and if you get on Google Maps and you measure that, it's about 5 miles from where Dylan's trailer was to where the grain truck was. Hello, Lisa. Welcome. But so if he was squatting on that land and he brings these firearms after the police has been there to this DH, I'm assuming it's Don. I'll just be honest with you. I think DH stands for Don Hill. I'm not sure. But if he brings it to him and says, I need you to keep this, and it states in the affidavit that he said the last time I got in trouble with the law, they took everything. Okay? And one of those guns you somehow knew was already in that trailer. How, I don't know. And it belonged to a guy that originally owned the trailer. So you decide you ain't turning that one over right away because that guy owed you money and you're going to keep this as collateral? Does that make any sense to anybody? Now, I know, like I said, I know there are speculations out there about Dylan's sexuality. Some people believe that he was in a relationship with Kurt. I don't know. And to be honest with you, other than the fact that Kurt and his brothers have a list of charges a mile long, I don't care what his sexuality was. I mean, if the guy was known for being shady, then, and he has all these charges, said that his brother actually held some women in a bunker like years ago. Now, this is all stuff that's being said. It's hearsay. And I don't really, I don't like hearsay like that. I mean, to me, it muddies the waters. It is keeping his name out there, but we have no proof. So I have to lean towards what I kind of feel. And Dylan was a hard worker. I don't think that he just ran off. That's been said too. Because everybody that knew him good said he was a real go-getter. I mean, do I think there's anything wrong with? There is a PI that has been on a lot of channels, and there's been people calling in, but this town seems to be a rough one. I'm just going to put that out there. I think one of the people that called in said there was 54 people in this town. How hard is it to question 54 people? But then you look at the arrest warrant for this James guy, whom could be Jim. We don't know. And then you think of the first two people that went out there, which was Don and some guy named Jim, that's who the grandma called. Well, if they had anything to do with it, to me that just bought them more time. And another thing that was supposed to be going on in this town was there was people that was like police in the desert. They were being vigilantes to like people that was stealing and stuff like that. But then they said there was actually some good people got caught in the crosshairs. I don't know, but from one interview that I did hear, it kind of sounded like Kurt and his brothers was on one end, and then Chase and his buddies was on the other end, and it was kind of like a turf war, or that's what I got out of it. 200 population, 40 cells. I mean, I'm going to drop the link if anybody wants to come up and talk about this. I mean, like I said, I'm easy to talk with. You all, you know I am. Everybody's allowed to have their own opinions. One thing I will say, because I think it's fair to say, and this is strictly how I felt about it when I watched the interview with the PI, he is blunt. I mean, but is he blunt to the point that maybe he comes off as rude? Yes. But now that's my opinion. That's my opinion only. Yesterday is when the arrest warrant come out. And I didn't really get to, I mean, I got to read through it, but didn't really get to study it. Things has been a little hectic. But I'm thinking if DH in this affidavit is Don, and if Jim is short for James, then this case was hurting from the get-go, from the time that the grandma called him and said, do you care to go over and see if Dylan's home? We haven't heard from him. And it said June the 6th or something, didn't it? The arrest warrant or the timeline? I mean, it's real easy to get caught up in the speculation. I'm gonna tell you, I went down the rabbit hole on that one for 2 days, but something, I don't know, I just feel like something happened to him when he was putting that grain truck in. It does make sense to me that and they act like this particular drug that you make is running rampant out there. Starts with an M. And if he was pulling in his grain truck and got out, maybe he was trying to rob him. Maybe something happened. And he thought he had to get rid of the body. I don't know. From what the family says, I don't think that he would have been somebody just to run off. And exactly. I agree. They're both a mess. I mean, What do you think about this case, you all? Let me know down in the chat. I mean, I haven't got a whole lot of information on it, and everything that I've heard kind of seems like speculation and rumors and just stuff that can't be proved. I'm not saying, to me, there shouldn't be no sides, whether you're on the parents or on the PIs, but if the PI's techniques are working to find Dylan, then I'm all for it. But is it really, or is it hurting the case? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I personally could care less about his sexuality. It's really more about if he was, and he was in a relationship with a dangerous man. Now, to me, that, yes, I watch Sleuth Mom's videos, and they're really good. I mean, I liked them. It's informative. I also watched Tyler Filler, I think is his name, and he had the PI on there, and there was some information that, I mean, that's where I heard about this, that Dylan might be gay, was on there. And if you all haven't seen Tyler's channel, he is real respectful. So, I mean, I don't know. If he was in a relationship with somebody that was dangerous, and it seems like this Kurt Wadsworth was dangerous, then, in my opinion, they need to look into that. It don't need to be overlooked, regardless. But then at the same time, I really feel like that this Don guy needs to be looked into also, because it don't sound like there was too many people that lived close to Dylan that was just an upstanding citizen. You know what I mean? And another thing, I saw an interview and a guy called in, and then his mom called in, and the mom was like she seemed really, really protective, in my opinion, over the Wadsworth boys. And please overlook my pronunciation. Some of you know, some of you may not. I've had surgery on my mouth. I have a hard time pronouncing some words, so please bear with me. I'm healing. Praise God, I'm healing, but it's not as bad as it was, but my words still slur quite a bit. But anyways, in this interview, this woman seemed to really, she says, they won't hurt nobody. Yes, thank you, Flies in the Coleslaw. They won't hurt nobody. I don't think that they would do this. Okay. Then within 10 minutes, she's saying, if he could get a hold of you, she was talking to the PI, said if he could get a hold of you, he would slice your throat. That don't exactly sound like somebody that wouldn't hurt anybody to me. So it's a mess, you all. If they don't find something pretty, yes, thank you. If they don't find something pretty soon, I can really see this turning into a Summer Wells case. I really can, because there's so many people. It's like a double-edged sword. When they come on YouTube and they're doing interviews, yeah, we all want to hear what they're saying. I don't think there's anybody in chat or anybody that watches the replay would say, oh, no, I don't want to hear nothing they say. No, we want to hear it. But then it all gets muddy when you got one saying this and one saying that, and then it almost always occurs, and it has already in this one, a feud begins. So you really don't know who to believe. That's the reason on this one I wanted to kind of go over the timeline and let you all know that there has been an arrest warrant made for the possession of firearms to James, who was squatting on near Dylan's property. And like I said, in the affidavit, somebody with the initials of DH, whom I think may have been Don, said that James brought him 3 firearms. Well, 2 at first. And then it says a couple days later, after his interview with the police, that DH told law enforcement, well, he actually brought this other gun also, but that gun was already in the trailer that he was squatting in, and I knew the owner to that trailer, and he owed me money, so I just kept this gun. Now, tell me that don't sound shady. It sounds like a flat-out lie. It sounds to me like after his interview, he started getting more nervous than a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, and thought, "What can I do now? I've got to cover my own behind. What do I do now?" Now that's how it seemed to me. Why would you keep another gun that you, especially if this is a Don? Because you got to think about this. He knew Dylan was missing before law enforcement did, because Grandma called him and told him to go over there and see if Dylan was at his camper trailer. And then he went back again with somebody named Jim. So can James and Jim be the same person? I know a lot of Jameses who their dad's name's James too, so they'll call them one James and one Jim. Is that just a Southern thing, or does everybody else know somebody that the real name is James, but they call him Jim? But now, I kind of think, because in that affidavit, I saw what it said. Who was I listening to that showed it? Gray Hughes. If somebody don't care, drop his channel in the chat. He does a lot of good work for charity. And he's real thorough with maps and stuff. If I try to pull up a map, 9 times out of 10, we'll be on the other side of the world looking for Dylan Rounds. I'm not much good with maps. But he was reading off the warrant, verbatim how it was. It was the actual arrest warrant. And when it got to that part, I was like, now that just don't even sound right. And he didn't think it sounded right either. But if I know somebody's gone missing, and then somebody brings me 3 firearms, I'm turning all 3 of them over to the police. I'm not holding one, because the person that used to own the camper that this guy was squatting in, and I'm sorry, but it wouldn't happen around here. I mean, not and you know it. This is out in the desert. I mean, if somebody's squatting, you're going to see them. But I guess we can all see from the Summer Wells case how people are around these parts. Now, I'm in Kentucky, but I'm pretty close to Tennessee, are over their land. I mean, I was actually really, really surprised in the Summer Wells case when people said, well, why do they care if they're on their land? Well, there ain't nobody wants you on their land. If something happens to you, I mean, that's my insurance, not yours if you get hurt. But so obviously they would have had to ran into this person, know this person was there. So is it real common down there to have people just squat on people's land and nothing ever be said to them? I mean, right to the point that they moved into a camper trailer. I'm a Kentucky girl, Lisa. You're not far away from me, though. What do you all think? Do you think YouTube is helping these cases? I'm going to drop the link again. Somebody wants to come up and chat with me? Come right on. But like I said, I know there is a lot of things out there in this case. I try my best to be respectful. Some of you that was in my live yesterday could probably tell when it comes to a kid, now I can get triggered real quickly. And maybe I don't come across as being respectful, but I try to be. And this is somebody's kid. He's got a mama, he's got a dad, and they're wanting to know where he is. I can imagine how she feels. Now, some people saying, well, she embezzled this one and she embezzled that one, and maybe she did. Maybe she did. But that don't mean she didn't love her kid. That don't mean that she ain't tore up about him being missing. That don't mean that her insides don't ache. Because that's her kid. It don't matter what kind of person she is. It does not mean she don't love her boy and care that he is missing. Thank you, Flies in the Coastal. I try to bring facts. I try to stick just as close to the. If I bring something on my channel, I've heard it. I've heard it with my own ears, and where I've read it. And yeah, I've heard interviews in this case that do bring big red flags. But if you know anything about the Bible, it says spirit flow from breast to breast. Have you ever met some people that your spirit just didn't connect to? Like you got a bad feeling about? I've seen that in both these cases. There's been, in Summer's case and in Dylan's, there's been some people that just get on camera that I'm like, ooh, that's, I don't get the best feeling from them. And you know, and you may not be a religious person. I am. But, and that's what I try to base my life on. I've said it before. I don't want to do nothing today that I can't live with tomorrow. And I'm not going to. Not if I can help it. But the Bible says you'll know them by the fruit they bear. And in both these cases, I see people just be out there and out there. And every time they're out there doing these interviews, they're dogging people. They're putting them down. They're pushing the blame here. They're pushing the blame there. And when most of us just want some facts. I mean, but now I will say this. I have a feeling Dylan's case will be solved. Um, I think that that family is not going to let up. And that is really important in any of these cases. It's really, really important when you have a family out there saying, you know what, you're going to look at me until I get answers. And when I say I think his case will be solved, that's why. So, Lord, please, nobody think that I'm a psychic or anything like that. I'm not saying nothing like that. I'm just saying that in Dylan's case, I see the family, and I'll tell you what it reminds me of: the pressure that come from that was put out there during the Gabby Petito case. Yes, completely two different families, but the pressure and putting it out there in the media, and I mean, Candace even said, "I'm not going away. I'm not that mom that they can just brush to the side and me be fine with it." And I don't blame her. I do not blame her. I have a son, and he's about me, sir. Dylan was 19. He's 4 years older than Dylan, but I'm here, and he has a kid of his own and another one on the way. And I'm here to tell you, if my boy was missing, this mom would not rest. They wouldn't be pushing me to the side either. So my heart goes out to her. Yes, every family should be like Gabby's family. Uh, I was so impressed with how their well, the mom and dad had got a divorce or split years ago, but they were all like they all worked together. They all supported each other. They wasn't feuding backwards and forward. And you know what? That case is getting answers. So I think I like it when a family is out there and they're saying, "I'm going to keep the heat. I'm going to keep the heat on." And as bad as some people don't want to admit it, if it wasn't for Don pure showing himself, Summer's case would have probably lost some steam, or I feel like it would have. Yes, Debbie, they do. They do. Um, Now, there's a lot of things Don did that I don't agree with, but I'm just saying that when we had no information, we was talking about the mess that he was causing. So we were still talking about Summer. Right now, oh boy. Uh, you all know how I feel about what happened yesterday. I can't either. I can't imagine what I'd be doing. Um, I mean, I learned a long time ago that some of the things that you think that you can't handle, you can. Uh, you don't know how you do it, but it's like God gives you a comfort and a peace, and I know that's how it went for me, anyways. Yes, and I mean, don't get me wrong. When my boys passed away, they passed away in a house fire. If they were out there and I just didn't know where they was, oh my goodness, I probably would be crazy as a Bessie bug. But I'm hoping this case is solved. I feel like it will be. I feel like it will be because there's family out there that's fighting for Dylan. Um, some people may not like the family. That's neither here nor there. It's the same way in the Wells family. Um, their technique may be a little bit different. They stirred a mess, but like I said, when we had no information to talk about, we was talking about them, wasn't we? So we was still talking about Summer. Um, but now I don't think they're going to let this one rest. I really don't. I 100% believe that this case will be solved. Okay, that is the only phone in the house that rings when I'm getting a new kid. So I hate to cut it short, but thank you all.